All right, YouTube family, what's going on? So today we're going to be talking about something that is a bit unrelated to debt. We always talk about debt, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit. And we're going to be talking about how I think you should think about your money like a nature ecosystem, right? And that might sound weird at first. We're talking about money, right? That's the entire thing that we always talk about. And I'm comparing money to nature. But listen to me, hear me out. Just give me like 5 minutes to explain my thought process. So to just preface how I even came to write all of this on the whiteboard, I was just thinking about like money, or not money, life and like nature. Like we're animals, right? So we're human beings. Life and nature and everything that goes on in your life, you can compare you can compare what happens in your life most of the time to nature and similar things that take place in nature, right? So I started thinking about money and how people manage their money, right? And how you get money, you got cash flow, you need to have savings. And in specific, the thought that I was really having, like I'll tell you guys my exact thought process. So I was just really thinking about how if you have a very good savings fund, if you have a good emergency fund, if you have a lot of savings, you can have a more steady stream of investments getting built up. So like each time you get paid, if you have money saved up for emergencies, you don't have to worry about delaying your investments or delaying like your savings account from getting even bigger if that's what you're worried about. So like that's the literal thought that I was having, and that's why I thought about like writing this down and talking about it, because like I think it's a cool analogy. Because think about it, money is basically the river, right? Like I just said, cash flow is your water. So of course you need income. Like that's the most important thing. That's what I wrote here. It's the most important part of the ecosystem for every animal. Without water, without the river, nothing's gonna grow. There's gonna be no food. There's no ecosystem. That's the first part of the ecosystem. So without that, nothing else can prosper. So if you look at your cash flow and how much money you make, whatever, as the river, and I'm not saying you need to make a lot of money. That's another thing we got to keep in mind here. A river doesn't need to have like a lot of water flow. It doesn't need to have a huge amount of cash flow. But if the river has a good dam around it, then it can still flow properly. And that's what we're going to talk about. That's the point I'm trying to make. So, I said too little it dries, too much it floods. I don't really know if that makes sense, but you get what I'm saying. So the savings, the emergency fund that you build up in this case, that's the dam that's going to hold the water back from like going all over the place, from flooding, from drying up, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said in the beginning, if you just think about it from a very simple perspective, if you have money saved up, if you have a dam around the river, which is your cash flow, right? So as you receive money, as the cash flow is coming in, the river is streaming, it's going downstream. If something comes up, let's say your tire pops off and you have to get your tire replaced. Let's say you get evicted or something. I guess you shouldn't be getting evicted if you have money saved up. But let's just say something bad happens and you need money to solve that problem, which is always going to happen because that's how life works for everybody. There's always going to be an emergency or something that comes up. That's just how life is, right? So if you have something keeping that cash flow secure, which is the savings account in case of an emergency, then the cash flow that you use to invest and save your money, it's not going to get interrupted. I think I wrote that here. It allows the river, which is your cash flow / investing, to continue uninterrupted. So basically, like, you don't have to worry about cutting off your investments. You can literally set an amount each paycheck to go into your investment fund or whatever you want to do, whatever aspirations you have with your money. If you have a secure emergency fund, and this is why you need to stick to a budget. That's another key thing that's sort of unrelated to this, but you can't get to this point of having a savings account to like build. You can't build a dam without sticking to a budget. Think about how people in real life build dams. You think the construction workers just go out there and spend endless money getting this shit done? No, you gotta stick to a budget when you actually building a dam in real life. So think about the dam for your finances. You gotta stick to a budget to actually build up that savings account. So it's pretty much the same analogy. So without the dam, the river will always be at risk. It'll be hard for you to save your money if you never have that security around your cash flow. So I don't know if that made any sense to y'all. I feel like that's a good way to think about it. I'm not really sure if that's helpful to anybody, but to me, I was just having a thought. I'm like, money, like I said, life, you can always make the parallels between life and nature and how they're, pretty similar. But in this instance, we're talking about money. So your money is basically a river. And if you want the river to flow endlessly and effectively and at a high level, you need to have an effective dam that is strongly built. And in this instance, we're relating the dam to your savings account. So if that made sense, let me know in the comment section below. As always, it's been your boy Randy Davis. I'm out.